guys, what's up? Jeff here, and this is my kitchen galley. And this time I decided to make it out of 80/20 aluminum. I used the 10 series, which is 1 inch by 1 inch. And you know, it's a little different. It's more expensive than doing it out of wood. It's really stable, which I like. Rock solid. I used it for my bed. I used the 15 series, which is 1.5 inch by 1.5. And then I also use the 80/20 for my boxes for my electrical and my plumbing. This will be my, my sink on top and a cabinet door. I'm going to have the base of this mounted a little bit higher, and under here is my S-bar heater. And then my plumbing will go down through this floor outside of the van. This is going to be 4 drawers. This will be my isotherm CR130 4.6 liter refrigerator, which will come to about here. So I'll have a little bit space left on top. I'm going to put a drawer here, and then I'm also I'll have a induction cooktop that'll sit on top of this. So I'll have my sink, plenty of workspace here, and then induction cooktop. So I know I want to do 4 drawers here. I know the bottom one that I want it to be pretty deep to be able to hold a set of like nesting pots and pans, plates standing upright, things like that. So I'm going to make the bottom one 10 inches. So I know the entire thing is just over 32 inches. Well, it's pretty much exactly 32 inches. Yep. So this is 32. So if I make the bottom 10, then I've got 22 inches to work with. So 22 divided by 3 is 7.33. So I'm going to make these just about 7.25 inches each. Okay. Okay. Then on the width, my width is 13 inches. I want it to be a 1/2 inch on each side gap. And so I know I want to make my drawers 12 inches wide. And then the depth of my drawers is going to be determined by my drawer slides. I have these Blum undermount drawer slides I'm going to be using. These are really the best drawer slides you can buy. And because they're undermounted, they are the really glide the best. They're just really, really well-made slides. I'll link to them in the description. And I'll show you how these work. But there is actually an adjustment that goes underneath where you can adjust the side to side with this little dial, which makes it really nice to be able to line everything up. So my drawer slides are 18 inches. I know they're going to sit right at the front of this and on the back. And so I'm going to be making my drawers 18 inches deep to match up with these. Now, if you were doing your cabinets out of wood, you would build a drawer face, and you would probably have pieces that came across where each drawer was going to be. With the 80/20, it's not really necessary because it is so solid and stable. And so I'm just going to be mounting my drawer slides to the side of this metal, and then also I'll have a piece of wood in the back, and it'll mount to the back of that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mount the drawer slides onto the 80/20 aluminum. Next, I cut a piece of plywood to be the back of my galley where the drawers are going to be. The nice thing about the 80/20 is it has a 1/4 inch gap, so 1/4 inch plywood will fit perfectly there. Then I cut a couple of pieces at the height of the galley, which is 32 inches. And then I ripped them down. It doesn't really matter the width, but I did these 2.5 inches wide. And these are going to be what my drawer slides mount to in the back, and I'll show you how that works. Next, I marked where each of my drawers are going to be, and I want these marks to be where the bottom of the drawer slide sits. And so I marked those with a pencil, and then I marked them with tape just so I could see them really easily on the aluminum. And I did that for all 4 of the drawers. Then I took those pieces of wood that I just cut, and I'm just going to mark where they are in the front, and then when I mount the drawer slides, they'll be perfectly level front to back. You can see here I'm just going to line up the drawer slide with the tape and with that pencil mark, and it's got these little brackets that just slide off, and these are what are going to be mounted onto this strip of wood, and then the drawer slides will just slide into those. It makes it really easy to mount these level, so much easier than regular side mounted drawer slides. So I just screw these brackets on so that the bottom of them are even with the pencil marks on each of the strips. And you can see here how this is going to fit onto the back, but I noticed that one of my 80-20 brackets was in the way of the little bracket for the drawer slide. And so I'm going to have to notch that out. And I just used a Dremel to do that so that the bracket wouldn't be in the way, so it could fit flush. And I forgot to adjust my camera angle, but trust me, I'm using a little cutoff wheel on my Dremel to just notch out this little piece for the bracket. You may or may not need to do this depending on how you're installing it. Then using some glue and some screws, I just attach these two strips to the back of the cabinet. You can see here how these brackets slide in. So all I have to do is just slide these into the brackets in the little notches and then attach them with a screw in the front. So I marked where the hole was going to be, and then I pre-drilled a pilot hole, and then I just used a little 1/2-inch self-tapping screw to mount the drawer slides. And then I just did the same thing on the other side. And there you have it, perfectly level drawer slides. So now that I have the drawer slides all mounted, I'm ready to start making the drawer boxes. And what I'm going to do on the dimensions on those is I want to do them the same depth as the sliders, which is 18 inches. And then I want to do it 1 inch less than the opening. So the opening is 13, so I'm going to do these 12 inches. That's going to give me a 1/2-inch gap on each side. And then the height, I want to do at least 1 inch shorter than the opening. So for example, this opening is 7 1/4, 7 3/16. I want to go at least an inch under that, but you can go more than that. It doesn't really matter because your box is going to be here, and then your drawer face that you put on after is going to be the exact dimensions that you want to cover everything. So I'm going to go 6 inches on these three, and then on the bottom one I've got 9 3/4, so I'm going to go 8 inches. So 6 inches and 8 inches for the bottom one. I'm using 1/2-inch Baltic birch to make my boxes, and the first thing I did is just rip down some pieces to the 8-inch width for my bottom drawers and then 6-inch widths for my 3 upper drawers. Then I moved over to the miter saw, and it's a really good idea to use a stop block because that way it's really easy to get every piece the exact right size. So I'm cutting down the pieces to 18 inches for the depth. And then the width of these boxes are going to be, remember, 12 inches. So I want to cut the front and back pieces to 11 inches because I've got the 11 inches plus the 1/2-inch thickness of the plywood, which will make it a total of 12 inches wide. I'm going to be using 1/4-inch Baltic birch plywood for the base of these drawers. So what I need to do is cut a 1/4-inch wide groove, a dado, into these side pieces so that my base can fit into that. And I'm just using setup blocks to set the width at a 1/2 inch. I want these a 1/2 inch from the bottom to give it enough room for the slider mechanisms to sit. And then I want them to be a 1/4 inch wide. And I want the depth of these to also be a 1/4 inch. So the setup blocks make it really easy to get these dimensions just right. Now the width of my blade is 1/8 of an inch, and so I'm going to need to run all of the pieces through twice. You could use a 1/4 inch dado stack, but I like to use just the regular blade and run it through twice so that it can dial it in and make it just the right width so that the 1/4 inch plywood fits in there snugly. Then I run all the pieces through once to put the groove in on one side. Then I move my fence over about 1/8 of an inch, and I run a test piece through, and I check it with the 1/4 inch plywood and make sure that it fits snugly. I want it to slide, but I don't want it to be too loose, and that's just right. And once I have it set just right, then I run all the pieces through again to make that 1/4 inch wide groove. Next, I'm going to cut the bottoms of the drawers. And again, I'm making this out of 1/4 inch Baltic birch plywood. Now, follow with me here. The drawer boxes are 12 by 18. I'm using 1/2 inch wide plywood, which means the inside dimensions of the drawer are 11 by 17. Now, I made those 1/4 inch grooves or dados all the way around, and so I want this plywood to fit inside of that, so a 1/4 inch on each side means a 1/2 inch larger than the inside dimensions of the drawer. So I'm going to be cutting these pieces to 11.5 by 17.5, and all 4 of them are going to be the same because the width and depth of all the drawer boxes are the same. Hopefully you got that. Now that I've got all the pieces cut and all the dados cut, I like to sand everything because it's so much easier to sand it when it's just laying flat than once all the drawers are put together, and to try to sand especially the inside of the box. So just hit everything with 220 sandpaper, make sure everything's nice and smooth. Once I got everything sanded, I like to just dry fit everything together and make sure that it all fits together properly. And once you know that everything fits together, it's time to put it all together. And I'm going to be using pocket holes. You can use nails or screws, however you want to do it. But you want to take one of the pieces and just choose either the front or the back, and you're going to make a little notch on each side for the drawer slide to go. And I'm just using a jigsaw. You can use a hand saw, a band saw, whatever you have. And these are going to be about 1.5 inches from the edges and about 1/2 inch tall. And this is just where the drawer sides are going to fit. It's going to look something like this. Now onto the pocket holes. We're going to be drilling the pocket holes in the front and the back pieces. And you want to make sure that you drill it not on the inside but the back side, the opposite side of where the groove is. And these holes are going to be hidden because on the front you're going to have a drawer face on it, and then in the back you're not going to be able to see that. So they're totally hidden. Now in the 8-inch piece, I drilled 3 holes on each side, and on the 6-inch wide pieces, I just did 2. And this pocket hole jig is so nice. It's made by Craig. I used to have their older one, but this one is adjusts automatically, so you don't have to set anything. You just clamp it down, and it drills perfect holes every time. So highly recommended. I'll put a link to this in the description. You'll probably be drilling quite a few pocket holes if you're making drawers and cabinets, so it's really well worth the money. Once you've got all of the pocket holes drilled, you're ready to put everything together. You just want to make sure that you line all the edges up so they're flush and that everything's nice and square. The bottom of the drawer that fits into the grooves really makes everything really square, so it's not too difficult, but it's nice to have some clamps to help hold everything together while you're screwing in the pocket screws. Once you've got all your boxes together, it's time to attach the hardware. These are so simple. This is the only thing that attaches to the drawer. These are the mechanisms, and these are adjustable, and like I said, they also make a non-adjustable kind. These allow for side-to-side adjustment, and they're nice if you're doing inset drawers. If you're doing face frame with overlay drawers, then you really don't need the adjustability. But either way, these are great drawer slides, and they just attach with a couple of screws on the front of each one. On the back of the drawer side, there's some little tabs that sit into the drawer to hold it in place. I found it's easiest just to kind of push it in, and the tabs will leave some little marks, and then use a 1/4 inch drill bit and just drill those out about 1/4 inch deep, and the tabs will fit right into those. Here's what those little holes look like, and here are the tabs that are on the back that will just fit into those holes. Now this step is not necessary, but what I like to do is put a little 45-degree chamfer on the top edge of the drawers. I think it just gives it a nice finished look. I love the look of the Baltic birch tops, and that 45-degree edge I think just makes it really look nice. I do that on the outside and the inside of the drawers. You could also do it with a file or with a little hand planer or sandpaper, you know, however you want to do it, but I find a little 45-degree chamfer bit on a router works really well. Then I just like to hit that top edge with some 150 grit sandpaper to get rid of any burn marks and also to make them nice and smooth. And the last thing I like to do before I install the drawer boxes is I like to hit them with some linseed oil just to protect them and give them a nice finish. You can use a lacquer or a varnish, but the linseed oil is really easy to apply. Usually just one coat is enough, and it's a really nice look for the drawer boxes. You want to apply a pretty liberal coat of the linseed oil and then give it about 5 minutes. And then you just want to go back, and what'll happen is the wood will absorb as much of it as it can, and then any excess will just be on top. And I just take a soft dry microfiber towel and just wipe them all down. I think they look great. Like I said, I love the Baltic birch edges. I think it gives it a really nice look. And now we're ready to install them into the cabinet. Now I'm going to show you just how easy it is to install these drawers in real time, installing all 4 drawers. All you do is set them on the sides, push them back, and they lock into place. There you go, 4 drawers installed in about 30 seconds. Couldn't be simpler. Oh, I love these Blum undermount drawer slides. First time I've used them, and I'll definitely be using them in the future. Even though they're probably cost 4 or 5 times as much as regular door slides, they are by far the easiest to install and the nicest, smoothest gliding drawer slides I've ever used. Watch for our next video where we'll be making the drawer faces for these drawers and also cabinets for our lowers and uppers, and we'll see you in the next video.